Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Why did the VA deny your claim is often a question that I see. There's two different kinds of claims that I will see get denied where the person is kind of questioning why. And actually, we could throw in three. So we'll talk about three different types of VA compensation claims that can be filed and denied, and what are common reasons for that. So with that, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. The two asks, like always, letting the video run is very helpful, and hitting the thumbs up help to push this into the hands of more veterans and spouses and dependents. So I'm still feeling pretty much like garbage, so I apologize for, I have a tissue and I might cough. All right, so let's jump into it. Why they denied. Now, why is this important? First of all, it's important because if you understand why you can get denied, you can help correct that up front if you're getting ready to file something, right? So it's another way to look at something from the other side and learn in a different way, right? You may be just trying to get information on why you were denied, trying to figure it out so you can, take a knee, adjust fire, and get back in there. But also, even if you haven't filed the claim yet, it's good to hear why you would get denied, because then you can not make that mistake, right? So there's three different types of claims that I'll talk about. One is just your standard service connection claim. Your next one would be filing for an increase, and the next one would be filing for a secondary condition. And you know what? Let's throw in presumptives as well. People can still get denied for a presumptive condition. And I'm going to start this off with, the VA has the Veterans Health Administration, gigantic, biggest medical, organization or what have you in the U.S. And you would think that they would help you with the filing of your claim, helping to get you diagnosed, helping to, do a once over, make sure you, check you out, make sure that you, whatever, right? No, there's not much help there. So understanding that is important, because you need to do this yourself and make sure that you cross the T's and dot the I's. So a service-connected condition that gets denied is typically denied for one of two different things, or both. Usually, what I see is the primary reason for denial is lack of nexus. In other words, you were not able to prove to the VA that your condition either manifested during your time in service or is a result of your time in service. You didn't prove that to them, so you're missing the nexus. And that, I would say, is the biggest hurdle for folks, and often leads to a denial. Now, it's one of those horrific situations because many of us did not go to any sort of medical anything while we were in, for fear of, all the different issues that we would have for going to medical. It was just easier to suck it up, right? So we didn't go. Now, granted, I get it. There's some of us that did, and there's some things that you would go to because you had no choice, right? I had to go to get 4 staples in my head, right? It was I couldn't avoid that one. But there's a lot of things that you wouldn't go for, right? Your migraines, your heartburn, your GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, that type of stuff. So the nexus is the biggest thing. The next one on the list, the other reason why a standard service-connected claim gets denied, is lack of a proper diagnosis. And often what I've seen in these situations is, for some reason, we think that the VA is going to help provide that. We file a claim because we're pretty sure, look, I know I have migraines, so I'm going to file for migraines. And you file for that, and the VA is looking for some sort of proof that you have migraines, and it's just you saying you have migraines. That doesn't really work. The VA wants to see the evidence and be able to move on from that. So you need to provide that diagnosis for your migraines. You need to, I suggest, if you get medication, in this example, for your migraines, then make a copy of that prescription when you go pick it up from the pharmacy. Make a copy of that. because that is also evidence. It just solidifies your diagnosis and shows that it's legit. So that would be the two things for a service-connected condition: is the lack of a proper diagnosis and the lack of a nexus. For a increase, what do I see that turns into a denial for an increase? Is it's not usually the fact that you're not worse. You are worse, but there's two things that happen here. One is you might be trying to get an increase on a specific body system or an ailment that has a really crappy rating schedule. In other words, it's really hard to get any sort of rating on it, especially anything substantial. Your back is a horrible rating schedule. You're lucky if you get a 10 or 20% and you can still walk. The other one that's horrible is hearing. So hearing loss, right? You would think you would get more, but you just don't. So the rating schedule itself and what you're filing for has some effect on that. But often what I see for increases is the lack of specific verbiage regarding the severity. Now, what I mean here is, if you're filing for an increase, what you should do is you should go to the schedule of ratings, find your condition, read the requirements for each rating that can be provided, and whatever one that you rate for that's the highest, let's say that you rate for a 50%, then you need to make sure that all that information in the rating schedule for the 50% rating gets input into your medical records with your doctor. You want to make sure that it's very clear that you meet all the requirements for that rating. That's just one example, right? I mean, it's any condition. Read the schedule of ratings and work with your doctor to make sure that you get all of that incorporated into your medical records, pull that back out as evidence, and file that with your claim. You'll also need that when you go to your CMP exam, because you're going to need to basically be able to recite all of the signs and symptoms and durations and all that stuff that meet that criteria for the rating in which you are seeking. So if you don't, then you're not going to get your increase because you didn't meet everything you were needing to meet with regard to the requirements for that rating. The next one would be secondary condition. Secondary condition, geez, stands on one. All right. So secondary conditions, when I see them get denied, it's because of one thing typically. And I guess it's two. It's two things. It can be two. The most common is the link between the conditions, your new secondary condition that you're filing for, and linking it to your existing condition that you're saying is because of this, right? I have this condition and this condition caused this. You need to prove that it caused that. You can't just say that. You have to prove it. Well, how can you prove it? Well, you really can't. But your doctor can put that into a letter. This condition ended up causing this condition. Or as a result of this condition, veteran has now come down with this condition. Whatever fancy words they want to use. There may be some studies out there. You can Google search studies on conditions caused by other conditions, specific to you, and see if a university or something out there has completed a study on that. That's evidence too. Anything that's not from you is probably the best. You can say it, but when you're talking about the medical nexus between one condition and another, it's better if you get it from a study or from a doctor. Now, the other thing that comes into play with the secondaries is the diagnosis again. You could say, for example, my bad back keeps me up at night, and now I have insomnia because of my back, and I'm going to file a secondary condition for insomnia. Okay? Well, if you don't go get diagnosed for insomnia, you don't have insomnia. So you need to go get diagnosed for it first. And then, again, if you get a prescription, make a copy of that prescription and put that in as evidence as well. Now, the last one is presumptives. Why in the world would you ever see a presumptive condition get denied? And I'm not going to go out on the limb of, you're filing, you joined the military in 2005 and you're filing for Agent Orange. Right? Obviously, that's going to get denied. So barring those situations, let's pretend that you meet that criteria of the service of when and where for the exposure, but then you're still denied, right? So what would cause a denial for a presumptive? Well, the presumptive eliminates the need for the nexus. So that means you don't need to prove that it was caused by or during or manifested during your time in service or any of that type of stuff. Because the VA has already conceded that as a result of your service, you are more than likely to develop these things. So if you file a claim for a presumptive condition and you're denied and you meet the criteria, it's because you did not supply the evidence of your condition medically, so the diagnosis, right? You didn't supply them the actual diagnosis information. If you did, then you should be good. If you provide proof of where you served, right? So let's use Vietnam, right? So in the heart of the Vietnam War, we'll say whatever, 1968 or something, and you were boots on ground in Vietnam, and you have whatever medal to establish that. It's on your DD-214. That's proof that you were there. Okay, boots on ground there. Now, Agent Orange exposure list, great. Then let's say that hypertension. Let's say that you were told that you had some, your blood pressure's a little high, right? You know how they check your blood pressure when you go in. Well, your blood pressure's a little high, but and then you get a little bit of that going back and forth, and so then you decide that you're going to file a claim for hypertension, high blood pressure, but you never really physically got diagnosed for high blood pressure. So you need to go do that first. You need to make sure that you have your diagnosis in place and that you prove that you served wherever you needed to serve during whatever time period is designated for those presumptives. But presumptives are great. They really do eliminate some of the red tape. All you need to do is prove you were there and prove that you have the condition. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.